As you probably already know, NBA Jam was one of the best grossing arcade games of all time. And this wasn't just because the game would cheat to keep the score close at the end. NBA Jam took in over $1 billion in revenue in its first year alone. This is a crazy amount for an arcade game. But NBA Jam's success didn't just come because of the NBA license and players. Actually, the thing is that NBA Jam was notorious in the 1990s for all of its hidden features. Now, there have always been hidden features in video games, sure. This idea of Easter eggs goes back to the early 1980s, and a whole bunch of people knew about this stuff back then. But the thing is that I can't think of any game before NBA Jam that had the same hype created around finding hidden characters that were playable. This included some characters that actually weren't in the game but people thought were there anyway. Okay, before you guys leave hate comments on this video, I should tell you that I already know about all the Easter eggs and hidden features in video games at that time. Some of these were actually bugs, such as adding 100 extra minutes to Jordan vs. Bird on the Genesis, though I'm not sure why you would want to do that. There were some other silly things you could do, like you could tug on the other player's shorts in arch rivals. Or in Harlem Globetrotters on the NES, you could pull down the referee's pants if you pushed the right button at the right time. The thing is though, that when we're talking about secret characters in NBA Jam, we're not just talking about these kind of like goofy one-off Easter eggs and little bugs. We're talking about a full system of hidden characters, as well as a whole wide range of cheat books and video game magazines that would tease all of this stuff out. And all of this really started, when you think about it, with Street Fighter II, the game that was an absolute smash hit back in 1991. One of the reasons why Street Fighter II was such a smash hit is because kids wanted to figure out how to do all the secret moves. While you can do okay using basic moves, it's kind of frustrating when the computer opponent is doing a bunch of amazing special moves, and it makes you want to learn more about how the game works. Now back in those days, Street Fighter II arcade units didn't feature any special move lists at all, which meant that you had to go digging to find all that information yourself. That naturally created a market for books like this, GamePro's official Street Fighter II strategy guide. And as Street Fighter II made its way out onto home consoles, the demand for lists of tips and special moves only grew. But when it comes to creating hype around hidden and obscure content, it's really Midway that deserves all the credit. I mean, Street Fighter II had some cool stuff like these moves you could do if you figured it out, but Mortal Kombat was like the king of rumors and controversy. I mean, Mortal Kombat was going to be controversial no matter what, with that combination of blood and realistically rendered characters. But it was the finishing moves that really made Mortal Kombat notorious, and that got kids excited to learn as many secrets as they could. And so various video game magazines started to advertise Mortal Kombat moves and secrets on the front cover, going back to this February 1993 issue of Video Games and Computer Entertainment. Of course, these articles about the various ways you could incinerate or disembody your opponent were pretty controversial at the time, and this eventually led to a political investigation. Sub-Zero's Spinal Tap fatality was particularly notorious, but the kids who played Mortal Kombat cared a lot more about this rumor about how you could face a mysterious and extremely difficult opponent named Reptile. Now, the real funny thing is that those instructions listed in that article to get to Reptile were incorrect. In fact, there is some evidence that Midway was deliberately giving incorrect instructions in order to convince kids to keep piling quarters into Mortal Kombat machines to try to get to all the hidden stuff. It's a really shady thing to do, but it ended up working incredibly well. Video Games and Computer Entertainment eventually published a correction in July 1993, but of course Midway had earned tons of frustrated quarters in the meantime. And of course these new instructions meant that kids had a brand new reason to dump even more quarters into Mortal Kombat machines to see if they could get the trick to work this time around. The thing that you'll notice about Mortal Kombat secrets is that there actually were no secret characters that you could choose. Now, there were a lot of rumors back then about being able to choose Goro or being able to choose Reptile or like a whole bunch of other stuff like that, right? But those rumors were false. Midway, though, and the video game review industry in general didn't really do anything to dissuade people from believing in those rumors. And that's the arcade gaming environment that NBA Jam was born into. Now, NBA Jam was likely going to be a smash hit no matter what. There were a few issues with player licensing though. Stars like Shaquille O'Neal only appeared in rare early versions of the game. And contrary to rumors, Michael Jordan was not available in any officially released versions of this game. So people write comments on my channel all the time claiming that they played as Michael Jordan in NBA Jam when they were kids. The truth is you did not play as Michael Jordan. He's not in any of these old games. There was a version out there with Jordan as a playable character that was owned by Michael Jordan himself. Now what you remember is almost certainly playing as one of the many hidden characters in the game. NBA Jam had this really cool feature that allowed you to register your name and date of birth to automatically save your progress through the game. This is the way the game knows when you've beaten all 27 NBA teams, and it's honestly a lot more interesting than the old method of saving a high score list with player initials. Actually, this feature was pretty similar to the old Double Dribble arcade game, except that Double Dribble didn't take your date of birth. And that system is another one of the reasons why kids spend so much money on NBA Jam. So it's not just that NBA Jam was rigged to make it close no matter what, you know, at the end of the game, the way that the game cheats. It's that you also had this storyline to play through and you could just keep going and making progress as long as you were playing on the same machine. Now, if it's $2 per game to play, it's going to cost you $54 to beat all 27 NBA teams. That is only the case if you don't lose at all, and you know that you're going to end up losing a lot in the process. That is how Midway ended up making more than $1 billion off of this game in a single year. Anyway, as a kind of joke, the developers of the game inserted themselves as unlockable characters, providing that you put in the right initials and dates of birth. Mark Turmel, for example, was the main designer and programmer of NBA Jam. Sound designer John Hay is notorious for sticking his tongue out as part of his picture. It's also amazing that a really geeking looking guy like him could perform moves like this. And then you've got Air Morris, who was the model for most of the basketball moves digitally recorded for the game. When you guys talk about playing as a hidden Michael Jordan, I'm pretty sure you actually remember playing as Air Morris, who looks kind of similar. Now, the ability to play as like a bunch of programmers and random people you've never heard of is kind of interesting, I guess, but Midway really ratcheted things up when it deliberately spread rumors that you could play as other characters in the game, you know, like the cheerleaders. If you look closely into the background on the left side of the court, you can see two cheerleaders who get up when players 3 or 4 score. These were Carrie Hoskins on the left and Lorraine Olivia on the right. The interesting thing, of course, is that both girls had previously been featured in Playboy magazine. And so the rumors you might have heard as a kid of NBA Jam featuring 2 adult entertainment models were actually true. But the craziest rumor of all, again, was the one that you could actually play as these girls, and this is the rumor that got people to go nuts. Once again, Midway gave its scoop to Video Games and Computer Entertainment magazine, including this altered cover photo showing Carrie Hoskins going up for a dunk. Of course, Video Games and Computer Entertainment was owned by the infamous Larry Flynt, which seems fitting given the circumstances. Anyway, in this feature on NBA Jam, Larry Flynt's video game magazine detailed how to access 13 different hidden characters in the arcade game. It also included this rumor of 5 additional hidden characters whose initials and birth dates had been deliberately hidden from the public. Video Games was also kind enough to inform its mostly underage reading audience that the 2 cheerleaders were both real-life Playboy models. Now, the funny thing about all of this is that this rumor was entirely false. That cover image had been digitally altered by whatever the equivalent of Photoshop was back in 1993, and we know that there were only 13 hidden characters in the original NBA Jam game because people have gone back and gone through the old source code. This topic came up again sometime around 2015 on an old arcade game message board, and the thread brought the old video games rumors back up. Posters were able to uncover a couple of additional initials and dates of birth that sort of worked, but that didn't really unlock secret characters. While these guys were able to figure out where almost every player was located in the game's ROM, they weren't able to find any evidence of the cheerleaders being anywhere in the game. But we didn't know all of that in the mid-1990s, of course, and back then it seemed only natural that, you know, at least Carrie Hoskins would be a playable character in NBA Jam. After all, she was the model for the only female character in Mortal Kombat. That would be Sonya Blade. She looks a little different in green than she does in the white cheerleader outfit, but it's the same person. And yes, Sonya has her own fatality, the Fatal Kiss.
Sonya wins. Fatality.
Now, to Carrie Hoskins' credit, she did decide to stop with her adult entertainment career after Mortal Kombat started to take off. And I mean, I guess the ability to like decapitate your enemy is a better message to send to kids than nudity. But the rumors of being able to play as a Playboy cover girl in NBA Jam were pretty powerful. And then when the home versions of NBA Jam finally came out, all hell broke loose. While the home versions didn't have Lorraine or Carrie, they did feature a huge cast of hidden characters. It's hard to imagine today, but back then you could play as sitting President Bill Clinton. Hillary Clinton was also a playable character, though personally I would have preferred Carrie Hoskins. You also had guys like Frank Thomas of the White Sox,
Showtime!
or the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah!
The acclaimed versions featured dozens of hidden characters, a lot more than the paltry 13 that the original arcade game had.
Showtime!
And so Midway really stepped up its game with NBA Jam Tournament Edition, and that's the version where the cheerleaders finally were actually playable. Tournament Edition was the version where the rumors finally became reality. Of course, the girls were really only head sprite replacements. It's kind of strange to hear the announcer refer to the girls as he when you play. And of course, Hoskins isn't wearing a halter top like she was in that Video Games Magazine cover image. Now, for that last part, I've really got to give credit to this book right here. This is NBA Jam by Rayan Ali. You can go find it on Amazon. There's a link in the description I'm going to leave for you. And it's not an affiliate link, right? You just go ahead and click on into it. I don't get any money from it. Now, this book has a whole ton of information on what actually happened back in the day, and it's really helpful because if you're like me and you read the newspaper articles and the magazines and stuff, all the rumors get to be like really confusing, right? The thing is that the hidden characters did continue as a main feature of NBA Jam. This continued even after Midway and Acclaim split up sometime in 1995. So, for example, you can play as John Elway in NBA Jam Extreme. You can also play as Newt Gingrich. But of course, the only problem is that you're playing NBA Jam Extreme, which is an awful game. In NBA Hang Time, you can play as Matthew Perry.
Yes!
I guess that's okay, though there aren't quite as many secret characters in this game as in NBA Jam Tournament Edition. So, I don't know, I mean, think about this, guys. Would you rather play as like a really hot girl who posed for Playboy or one of the guys from Friends, right? I don't know what they were thinking. Anyway, Hoskins did come back as a secret character in NBA Showtime. Lorraine Olivia, meanwhile, never came back after Tournament Edition. And unfortunately, Showtime is nerfed to the point where Carrie just can't dunk, which takes away a lot of the fun. It's nothing like the arcade version of Tournament Edition, where Hoskins is actually a good player, and of course, where you can win games with her at the very last second. Anyway, that's pretty much it. So there you go, that's the story of how you can play as an adult entertainment star in NBA Jam Tournament Edition. It doesn't really seem all that exciting these days, but I'll tell you what, if you were like a teenage boy back in 1993 or 1994, chances are that you were thinking a lot about this. And I bet that a lot of you probably spent quite a bit of money on this game to try to figure out how all this worked.